This is All About Bitcoin, a show dedicated to all things questions and markets related to Bitcoin, little b for the currency, and Bitcoin, big B for the network. A collective journey to understand, apply, and use this innovation, all Bitcoin, all the time. I'm your host, Christine Lee. Let's have a live look at Bitcoin right now. The CoinDesk Bitcoin price XBX index currently trading at $46,676. Bitcoin slightly up, advancing about 1% over the past hour, but pretty much flat for the day as Bitcoin goes. The most reliable reference prices for institutions since 2014 are now published under the CoinDesk brand, trusted globally as the leader in crypto news, events, and data.
The chart of the day is brought to you by Crypto.com, the world's fastest growing crypto app.
Well, earlier we saw Bitcoin trading lower in Asian hours, continuing the year-long trend of losing ground, mainly when America is asleep. Data provided by options trader Frederick Collins showing Bitcoin consistently facing selling pressure during Asian hours this year, seen in yellow. Most year-to-date gains made by Bitcoin of some 60% have come during American day trading hours in red, Europe in blue there. BTC taking a hit and dragging the broader crypto market lower as the U.S. Federal Reserve and other major central banks begin unwinding pandemic-era monetary stimulus to contain inflation. The decline comes as traditional markets turn a blind eye to China's recent interest rate cut and remain risk averse. Heightened fears of coronavirus lockdowns also appear to be overshadowing Beijing's move to improve market sentiment. European nations are reimposing stricter measures to stem the Omicron wave, and China's COVID-0 policy is threatening to disrupt the global supply chain. So let's take a look at some of our top stories moving markets. China's central bank announcing a cut in its one-year loan prime rate, a de facto benchmark rate since 2019, from 3.85% to 3.8%, confirming the first reduction in nearly 2 years, as the People's Bank of China attempts to cushion the economy from the negative impact of property market woes and renewed coronavirus concerns. By contrast, the U.S. and UK are tightening the levers of monetary policy. The Federal Reserve announcing last week plans to double tapering efforts on their $130 billion monthly bond buying program with an aim to end asset purchases by March of next year. The Fed is also eyeing up to 3 interest rate hikes in 2022 to control high inflation. The Bank of England going one step further, introducing a 0.25% rate hike, while the European Central Bank is signaling tapering to begin not until next March. Finally, the Swiss National Bank is sticking to loose monetary policy, keeping interest rates unchanged, negative 0.75%. Joining us now to discuss is Luzius Meisser, chairman of crypto brokerage Bitcoin Suisse. Welcome, Luzius. Great to see you. All right, so central banks around the world are in a quandary trying to address rising inflation and a global pandemic. Policy tightening seems to have sent the traditional and crypto markets in retreat earlier. What is your outlook?
So inflation is a big topic. Only 1.5%. So that's maybe one of the reasons why the Swiss National Bank doesn't see an urge to do anything, as they are always looking at exchange rates. And the Swiss franc is very strong, so they actually still plan probably to make it a little weaker, so our exports remain competitive. But if you look at Germany, the Eurozone, the inflation is now 4.9%. And I've prepared one chart for you. So this is chart number 1, where you can look at the German producer price index. This is even more dramatic. So producer prices always are a little more sensitive to inflation because producers, they adjust prices faster. And what you can see is in Germany, year-on-year inflation at producer prices is 19.2% for November. And this is a historic extreme. So if you flip to the next slide, you will see that this is indeed historic. So this goes back to, on slide number 2, you with the long-term inflation. If you go back to 1977, it was never that high. So here you see 2 lines. One, the red line is Switzerland, where we've never seen more than like 6-7%. This was during the oil crisis on the left side of the chart, and now we are close to 5% producer price inflation. But in Germany, it goes through the roof. You see the blue line, it goes to uncharted territories. It goes upwards towards the 20% we've seen before. And this is something that should frighten the ECB, because it means that, so in the oil shock, what we see at the end of the 70s, so there was a big oil price shock that created temporary inflation, so they said, and then the inflation turned out to be sticky. And the same could happen again, that we have some inflation that the central banks, yes.
What is Switzerland doing right that Germany is doing wrong?
Switzerland has a very sound currency. We don't have countries like Greece in our small territory, so it's and we have big currency reserves. Yes, it's manageable, and it's a very healthy economy. And I think Germany on its own could probably manage well, but Germany is in the Eurozone, so they are dragged down by Italy, by Spain, by Greece, by all the countries that are not so fiscally responsible because their economy is not doing that well still. And then you see all the money printing going on. And I'm not sure if there's a way for the ECB to get out of that. And that, of course, is an opportunity for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So one more monetary chart. It's only 3 this time, so it's I don't want to overload you with information. So if you flip to the third slide, you see a comparison between gold, the Swiss franc, and Bitcoin, the market cap of each of them. You see the Swiss franc, is very stable. If you charted the same money supply for the dollar or Eurozone, it would go up like crazy during the great financial crisis, and now during the whole stimulus for Corona. And in Switzerland, it's much more stable. And what you also see is how the green line has caught up. So it's when we saw the peak in Bitcoin prices, we saw a flippening between Bitcoin and the Swiss franc. So for first time in history, all the Bitcoins combined were more valuable than all the Swiss francs in circulation. When looking at money supply M3. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the top line, you see the total value of all the gold in the world. It's all in Swiss francs here, so for comparison. And it is now in reach. So for a long time, the question was, will Bitcoin ever be as valuable as gold? And now it's only a factor 3 away. And in a few years, we might see Bitcoin overtaking gold. And then the question becomes, is Bitcoin actually better than gold?
Is Bitcoin better than gold? Well, gold right now is a 13 trillion market cap. Bitcoin is about, I want to say, around the 1 to 2 trillion market cap range. So that would make Bitcoin quite valuable. So I wonder, what is the state of crypto in Switzerland right now? And is it crypto friendly and receptive to trading Bitcoin?
Yes. So Switzerland is crypto friendly in some regards. In others, it isn't. So in one way where it isn't is that our regulator is very concerned about our reputation. So they always see reputation risk. So they are very strict. They want to control every risk. So we have very, very tight money laundering rules. And that's why no one is coming anymore to Switzerland for money laundering. You should better do that maybe in the Bahamas, or I don't know. So, but what Switzerland is very attractive for is crypto business in general, because we have a high level of legal certainty, and we have one new law that came into force 1st of August, and is pretty unique in the world. It's a law that I advised the government actually a little in creating that law. I was one of many experts that they consulted, and the law specifies the legal foundations for issuing securities. In most countries, there is a law that says when you issue a share and you print it on a piece of paper, that piece of paper becomes the share or bond or whatever security you're issuing. And then you can easily transfer the share by moving the paper. And that makes it easily transferable. And of course, you can do the same with blockchain technology. And what Switzerland did, they approved the law anonymously. So there was no vote against in the parliament. All said yes. Maybe they didn't understand it, but maybe they also saw the opportunity. So what you can now do in Switzerland, you can issue a token. And if you do the right legal formalities, then that token is a security, just like the paper becomes a security if you print the right words on it. And what we did better than all other countries I'm aware of is that you can do that. It's embedded in civil code. It's not in the securities law. It's a civil code. That means between you and I, we could issue a token. We don't need a financial intermediary. We don't need a transfer agent.
Right.
We don't even need a lawyer if we fill in the right forms.
All right. We have to wrap, but Luzius, you have some big news. The founder of Bitcoin Suisse, Niklas Nicolson, I'm butchering that, has stepped down. Okay. Yes. And he's a bit of a larger than life character, and you're going to take his place as president on January 1st. So what direction do you plan to take Bitcoin Suisse, and what opportunities do you see?
First, I want to emphasize he's staying with us. He's becoming honorary chairman. So that means he is still doing a lot of work. He's very charming, very charismatic, so he can go out to the world and talk about Bitcoin and his visions. But what I like to do, I want to continue to build bridges between the traditional financial world and crypto finance. And that's what Bitcoin Suisse has been doing since it has been created. And this bridge goes two ways. One way is if you are a wealthy individual, if you're Warren Buffett, maybe at some point in time you want to move into crypto. And we help these persons, these wealthy individuals moving into crypto and helping them to do the right thing. And on the other side, we're also helping successful crypto companies to move out of crypto, maybe to pay for salaries or things that where you still need real world money for. So, and I want to continue building these bridges.
So greater institutional adoption.
Yes. And our ambition has been always to cover the retail segment as well, but this is pretty tough to be competitive under the Swiss tight regulation with all the identity verification we have to do. So it's a little easier to be in the more or less institutional and high net worth section. And
Understood.
One thing that...
All right, well...
Yes.
Congratulations, Luzius. Appreciate you coming on, and congratulations on your new role. We got to wrap, though, unfortunately. But once again, thank you for joining us. That was Bitcoin Suisse Chairman Luzius Meisser.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Coming up, if you're a Bitcoin holder, crypto lender Ledn has a way for you to put your Bitcoin to use.
Hey there, it's Zach, co-host of The Hash and Deputy Global News Editor at CoinDesk. You're watching CoinDesk TV.
Welcome back. Bitcoin falling more than 30% since peaking near $69,000 on November 10th. Sellers are dominating the market, but if you're a holder, what can you do about your BTC? Joining us now to discuss is Mauricio Di Bartolomeo, co-founder and chief strategy officer at Ledn, a financial services firm for holders. Hello there, Mauricio. Thanks for joining us. So first, what's your outlook on Bitcoin during this sell-off we've seen in the broader crypto markets? How long do you think it'll last?
Hi, Christine. Great to see you. It's a great question. I think if you look at, and just going off of some of the points that the earlier guest was making, I think some of the price action that we're seeing recently is largely driven by some of the caution that some central banks are starting to, exercise in some of their monetary policy. And that, the Fed doubling the speed of their tapering plans is certainly going to put some pressure on equity markets in general. And that, whether we like it or not, there's starting to be a correlation between Bitcoin and the broader equity markets, and even Bitcoin starting to react to fiscal policy announcements. So, there was an inflation number that came out, I believe it was last week, and immediately when the inflation number came out, you saw moves on the dollar index and on Bitcoin, which is typically what you start seeing when there's algorithmic trading around some of these headlines in some assets.
Mm-hmm. So if you're not selling and you're just holding, your company proposes a way to make your Bitcoin liquid. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, it's a great question. So what has been true throughout history is that while central banks ebb and flow in terms of money supply, over time, money supply just tends to grow. That's just the nature of fiat and the way it's structured today. And that's why there's so much excitement around Bitcoin and its finite supply. When we launched Ledn, our flagship product was a Bitcoin-backed loan. And this was a product that people were using to access financing when they didn't want to sell their Bitcoin. For many reasons. And one of the big reasons is that in many cases, selling your Bitcoin when you've built up a large gain creates a taxable event for you. And so when you put it as collateral, you were able to borrow dollars and then diversify some of your holdings into a different asset. What we started seeing was a lot of our clients, especially in the last 6 months or so, were starting to take out these very big loans to purchase property. And a lot of them were coming to us and saying, well, it would be great if I could use my house as part of the collateral for this loan that I'm taking. And I could then, purchase a house. And I'm also having a lot of challenges accessing a traditional mortgage with a bank. And so we started working with some of our, top clients, a couple of our pilot cases. And we started working with them to put together a structure to make this product a reality. And then they started getting really excited. And they said, I have friends that are very interested. Could I put them in touch? And so slowly we started noticing that the demand for this product was actually snowballing. And so what we did is essentially we put together the program, and now we announced it we announced our wait list. It has so far surpassed our expectations, and we're working very hard to bring this product to market to Canada and the US next year.
So what are the risks involved? For instance, like if your crypto's value falls, do you have to pledge more crypto?
Yeah, so in the way a standard Bitcoin-backed loan is structured, of course, to hedge against the volatility of Bitcoin, what Ledn does and other crypto lenders do is we advance a dollar amount that is worth half or 50% of the value of the Bitcoin that you're placing as collateral. So what that allows is that it gives some flexibility to price movements before the borrower has to then top up and send additional Bitcoin. When you add real estate to the collateral mix, it actually improves the stability of the value of that collateral. And what that allows us to do is provide more generous times for the client to essentially meet their additional collateral requests. And that is, in many ways, one of the big advantages of having real estate now as part of the collateral.
All right. And I understand you've raised $70 million in a Series B funding round. Your valuation is now at $540 million. So congratulations. We got to wrap it there, Mauricio, but appreciate your time and coming on to the show. That was Ledn co-founder and chief strategy officer, Mauricio Di Bartolomeo. All right. That's it for All About Bitcoin. I'm your host, Christine Lane. We'll do it all over again tomorrow at 3:00 in New York. Also join us tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for First Mover. You're watching CoinDesk TV.